Hey, we're back. Thanks for joining us today. Sorry we had a little bit of technical difficulty. We're here to show you how to make a flag cake. 4th of July is coming up, as is Flag Day, which is next Tuesday.
Week. Yeah.
Next Tuesday. And Judy and I, Driscoll's, who's our sponsor, asked us to come up with a recipe for a flag cake. And we talked about it a lot. We looked at a lot of pictures of other flag cakes, and we wanted to do something a little bit different.
Has to be a little new. I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of versions out there. They're kind of versions of each other. So we came up with something a little bit lighter too. Julie and I were just saying how much, I love tons of frosting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a nice base layer of frosting, and then there's these cute little meringues. And it just gives you a nice, like, I don't know, crunch factor, chewy, and then you've got the fresh berries with it too.
And if you are just joining us, we introduced ourselves before, but I'll go ahead and do it again. I'm Julie Resnick from Feedfeed, and this is Judy Kim, who's the editor of our pie crust inspiration and also smoothies.
Could be more further apart in different versions.
Yeah. And so Judy and I have actually worked together with Driscoll's. We created pie crust inspiration for this past Thanksgiving. So we should probably get started. We're going to talk about the different layers of the cake. So we've made a lemon chiffon sheet cake here.
This is, by the way, this is a regular recipe. So if you were doing like a birthday cake, it would be the same equivalent of 2 layers of a 8 or 9 inch cake, and it fits into, I think it's 18 by 9 by 1 inch. There are a lot of different kinds of pans out there, and I know that there's sort of, this is a professional version. It's also called a half sheet pan, but what you really want to worry about, I think, is the depth.
Right.
Because some of the other versions that are a little less expensive.
Too shallow.
They're too shallow,
yeah.
And my suggestion actually is to invest at least in one of these because they don't warp and they last, they're like a workhorse, they last forever, and it's a great investment.
So what's nice about this cake is that you don't have to take the cake out of the pan when you're bringing it to a barbecue or to a party. Yeah. You're gonna put the frosting right on the cake here, and then you're gonna decorate it and then bring it right over.
Yeah. Makes it
so you talked about the meringues already.
So I'm going to actually show you guys how to, we've already obviously made the cake and the frosting, but we did want to show a little bit of technique, and so I wanted to show a few tips for you guys. So I'm going to do the meringue, and while Julie's just going to quickly put a layer of frosting on here. So I'm going to show you guys something. This is something actually Julie, who works for me, not this Julie, found, and it's a parchment sheet. What's really nice about this, it's pre-cut.
Oh,
this is awesome!
Wait, I've never seen that.
Yeah, so you just have to maybe fold it a little bit to make sure it fits, but there's no tearing it or fussing with it and things like that. So this is a great find. I only had to put a little bit folded back. This is a meringue base that we made earlier this morning. Now, I'm going to show you what this looks like, and this is a proof that this needs to be piped as soon as it's made. This has been sitting around for a couple hours.
It's a little soft.
So it's really soft. So if you get to this stage, really, it's probably not going to work. So I'm going to switch over to, this is actually frosting, but I want to show you guys the technique. So a lot of people,
just out of the way.
Yeah. I'm going to show you guys how to also fill this in a minute. So you want to, if you're right-handed, you want to have your hand up at the top and your right hand and your left here. And the right is going to put pressure, so you want to twist as much as you can, and then you're going to put this hand and it's going to guide. Now, to keep the paper in place, like to put a little dollop in each corner, and this way the paper is just not moving around. Some people have kind of fancy ovens out there that are maybe convection. I don't know, do you ever use convection?
I do sometimes.
It's good for crisping, but I'd say in this case it might start kind of blowing things away, so I'd suggest turning that feature off. So I'm going to do a bunch of these at a time. It's a little bit of a feeling. You're going to push your tip down, go in a circular motion, put even pressure, and as you're nearing the end, you're going to lift up. Now, if this was meringue itself, it would make the most adorable little kiss. You guys can see this little tip right there at the end. So that's really the difference in the consistency of the frosting. So
we have a question.
Yep.
Okay.
What's the recipe for this?
So it's a lemon chiffon cake with a lemon buttercream.
It's a vanilla buttercream.
Vanilla.
It's a Swiss meringue buttercream that
Buttercream.
has a little bit of vanilla flavoring. And the cake has got a lemon chocolate. We wanted it to feel like summery versus like a typical yellow cake. So we added some lemon zest in there, lemon juice, and it's got beaten egg whites into it to get a little bit
Lighter.
Yeah, it's not going to be quite, like angel food cake or
Right.
anything, but it's kind of nice and light. And then the meringues, typically they're just flavored with vanilla, and we put a little lemon zest in there just for a little touch. So I think that's makes it just also a little bit different.
And we have the recipe on, you can find it on the cake feed on our website. So that's feedfeed.info/cakes. And that takes you right over to Judy's site where the full recipe is there.
Exactly. And for anybody out there, because we've been promoting it on our Instagrams for the last couple of days, if you download the recipe, I just recommend that you re-download it. I was retesting it this morning, and I wanted to put some extra tips in there about making sure that it would give you success. I've had it tested by a couple different people, and I just wanted to give you that little extra edge. So I'm just going to put this to the side.
So let's talk a little bit about the frosting. So one of the issues that people often have with frosting, especially in the summer, is that they're not very stable. And so oftentimes for the 4th of July, you might be taking your cake to a picnic or a barbecue, and you're outside and it's really hot, and basically the frosting just slides right off the cake. And so what I really like about Judy's frosting recipe here is that it's really stable and it can stand up to the heat, and so why don't you show us how to put the frosting into the bag.
Also, a lot of people have little questions about techniques and stuff. This doesn't require a whole lot of tools, but I do think it's nice to have an offset spatula. This is from Ateco. You can get this anywhere. And this way, when you're smoothing it out, your wrist and your knuckles don't get in the way. There's no wrong way, by the way, to frost this cake. You want to just cover edge to edge. If you make the cake in advance, make sure it's fully cool. That's pretty much the rule with any cake. That's a big reason that frosting is flying off and more or less sliding down, unfortunately. So that would be my tip. You can make the cake in advance, but the meringues need to be made in advance because the center is...
And you do those a day ahead of time.
I really do them the day in advance. You could do them even a couple of days in advance to save time and break it up. But it makes sure that the outside is crisp and that the center is chewy.
Which is the way you like.
Which is the way I like them, not everyone. I mean, I just actually came back from France, which was really exciting. And, that's really how the French do it, and, it's really nice. So I'm gonna show you guys how to fill a piping bag. This is an 18-inch piping bag, and I like this because no matter what you're doing, how little it is, there's nothing worse when the bag is too small and then you can't get it in there and you've made a total mess. I'm using a vase, but you could use like a pint glass or something. This just makes it really easy to fill. Fold it completely back, and this way it makes it easy to hold. And nice wide spatula. And you just want to get it really inside. The folding back of the sides makes sure that it doesn't get messy.
And how much, in terms of how much do you put in now?
Well, this is the quantity of frosting if you were making like a full birthday cake, which is like full 2 layers.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be at the middle layer, and then the top layer, and then all the way around, and then a little bit of decoration. So it's definitely going to be more frosting than you need for this particular cake. But I don't know if you love more frosting, like you really
put it on.
So fold this back up, and another cool little trick is this guy. So I'm not gonna put this down so you guys can sort of see what this looks like. It's this little rubber band, and I thought it was the silliest thing to buy, but it is $3 for a package of like 8 or 9 of them, and it makes it so that your bag stays closed. It's on there. I mean, you can do anything. I just tied this with a little rubber band, but if you bake a lot, this is worth $3. And then you just want to, push down and make sure the bag is full. We're going to get back to this in 2 seconds because we're going to show you some tricks of how to make. We did everything here homemade, but we know everyone doesn't have time for that. So There's a lot of wonderful cooks out there that want to do every component, but if you don't, should we talk about maybe the meringue first?
Sure, so you can buy the meringue from the store. They usually come in this size. So, sorry, we're in New York City, so there's some size.
A little bit nice.
They usually come in this size, but then when you get to making the stars, you're going to actually need to pipe out frosting if you have not made your own homemade meringue stars.
Exactly. One thing I didn't mention is that I'm using a star tip. It is a 1M Wilton tip. It's probably the most versatile tip out of all the frosting, piping bag tips that I use. It makes rosettes, it makes these perfect little kisses, and it also makes these cute little stars. So that's what this looks like.
Should we get started and let's put these berries on the cake?
So we laid these out. It was really more to demonstrate for you guys, but it ended up kind of being a little trick that we think is good for you guys. Maybe you guys have families,
I think the kids would love to do this. So while you are putting the frosting on the cake, have them lay out the berries, and then you can transfer them to the cake one by one.
So we put this together so you guys could see what the layout looks like. Every berry is a little bit different in size. So today's berries are pretty jumbo.
They're pretty big.
And so it's kind of nice to lay it out to make sure that when you get down to it that they fit. So we did this for decoration, so I'm just gonna pull these little bits off. And I'm gonna come back to this and show you guys how to pipe this with frosting. These ones are my favorite though.
Yeah, super cute. And it's about 2 boxes of raspberries and about 1.5 of the containers of blueberries.
Kind of can't have too many because you can make,
we have
these little drinks here that we will get back to, but a little extra fruit is never gonna be a bad thing. So, I'm gonna start up here, right?
Yep.
These are giant. So what are you doing for the 4th?
Probably just having some friends over. My kids really like when we have friends and family. So I'm sure they saw the picture of the flag cake, so it's already been requested. I'll be making a flag cake.
All right, you gotta send me a picture of that.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if my daughters can put all the berries on for me.
Well, I will be at the beach, and I don't think that there will be a whole lot of flag cake making at this party, but I do think that we're going to be eating a lot of fruit and making lots of fun other desserts as well, and making, I don't know, it's kind of fun to make these little cocktails.
Yeah.
Maybe you can sort of smash raspberries or blueberries, put them in a pan, and with a little simple syrup, maybe a little,
yeah,
a little bubbly, a little champagne.
I just recently made a hibiscus tea.
Ooh.
And I put some smashed raspberries on the bottom. It was delicious.
Awesome.
So as you can see, we're just transferring all of the meringue and the berries to the cake.
It's actually nice because when I originally had designed the cake, I was really doing this free form, and you don't, you kind of get lucky if you're gonna get exactly the right shape. I mean, the good news is you can shake everything off, and you can't mess up the cake. It's gonna be delicious, and it's meant to be fun.
And you could also, if you can't find any store-bought meringue and you want to make your own, and you don't want to make your own, you could do frosting.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who love frosting. So I know that if this was all little piped bits of frosting, they'd be in complete heaven. So there's no wrong with frosting. Yeah. Well, when I have a cupcake or something, people love when I'm around because they get to eat my frosting.
Yeah.
All right,
beautiful.
so
this is coming together.
I want to talk about a little bit about the meringue itself again, because when you're making them, baking time is really important. You can make the technique and whisk it together. It's something you do probably want to use with a mixer, like a KitchenAid mixer, but when you're putting it together, I give a lot of recommendations and times, which is what I made an update on the recipe. So love for you guys to go back to my website and re-download that to make sure you get all those little tips. Things like the sugar dissolving, making sure that it's not gritty so that when you get the final result that you don't get this. sort of gritty texture, and then it's just really smooth and cloudy. That's really important.
And you know what? I think we should do one more.
Should we do one more?
Blueberries,
Yeah.
because we have them right here.
And making them the day before, like I said, is important. There are some people out there who talk about leaving them in the oven and overnight. I actually found that tip. I tried it out and they overcooked. So it depends on what kind of texture you like with your actual meringue, but I would suggest just leaving them out on the counter, in the sheet pan, and I think you'll be good. The other trick is that no one will ever know that if you are piping them out and you don't get the right shape, you literally just scoop it up,
You put it
right back in the bag.
Exactly.
No one will ever know that, they weren't perfect the first time or the second time, but you'll figure it out, and it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you'll use that technique to frost cakes like pretty rosettes.
Debbie Traub asked, will the meringues hold up in hot weather too?
They will, but this is a good point. I put them on really early, and then I ended up bringing the tester cake over to my office and shared it with my friends. And I was so destroyed because I had left them on there for so long that the chewy center disappeared.
Yes.
It's like the moisture of the frosting in combination of touching the meringue. So if you're really sensitive about your meringues being that like chewy center, you want to unfortunately put them on sort of last minute, right before serving.
Right.
But you could have everything else ready to go, like all the berries and things like that. But sometimes you just go with it. I've got the stars. Yeah. But I had made these meringues in advance, so you absolutely can. I just had trouble with putting a lid on top of them because it broke my heart to get these tips all broken off. They were just so cute and swirly. So. All right, so we're going to start with the stars. So just to make sure that the stars are actually put in place. So if we're going to do the version with meringues, this is, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Keep bouncing with you. I just put a little bit of frosting on the bottom just to act as a glue. And we're sort of putting them, like there's just sort of little quadrants here, so we are just spacing them out as evenly as we can. We're clearly not going to get 50 stars on
No.
that. I don't think that's going to happen, but...
And we have another question.
Yep.
Again, Veronica McBee wants to know the recipe, please.
Oh, sure. So again, you can get the recipe from our website, which is feedfeed.info, and then you just go to the cakes feed, which is, you can search cakes or feedfeed.info/cakes, and you'll be able to grab the full recipe there.
So now I'm going to show you guys a version if you didn't make the little meringues. I'm just going to show it to you using the frosting.
Yep.
So it's literally, you're going to push the tip down, hold it for a second so that it actually splays out, and then pull up really gently. So it's not going to be exactly the same consistency, but I think it's still really cute.
Still looks exactly the same shape, and you really never know the difference, only by taste.
Exactly.
Perfect. So, you've got it already.
Yeah. Voila, I've got the final cake here, and
Thanks for joining us.
thanks for joining us. Anyone else have any questions for us? We're open for that.
Which kind of meringues did you use, Swiss, Italian, or French? That's from Patricia Bremer.
Ooh, that's a good question.
That was the Swiss butter cream, but what's your recipe?
It's a mishmash of the thing, but it's really more fresh. Deep down.
All right, so maybe we should get the crew here and sample it.
I think that's about time.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, well, thanks so much
Thanks
for
so much.
joining us, and we'll see you guys again soon.